Darlings, forget your polite parlor waltzes. The American Wild West was 30 years of dust, whiskey, and people who solved Tuesday's boredom with a six-shooter and Wednesday's loneliness with whoever walked past the swinging doors. Think Deadwood, with worse hygiene and far more imaginative uses for a branding iron. Smash subscribe like a saloon girl smashing a John over the head with his own bottle, and holler below. Are you watching this over coffee in Texas at dawn or 2 a.m. Maggie in Lahore? Picture 1865. The Civil War just coughed its last, and every man with a pulse and a grudge heads west. Towns spring up overnight: Dodge City, Virginia City, Tombstone. Population: 1 sheriff, 12 saloons, and 300 single men who haven't seen a woman since Vicksburg. Enter the working girls, sailing in on the afternoon stage like crimson angels of mercy. One dancehall queen stepped off in Abilene and got 27 marriage proposals before her trunk hit the dirt. She took none, took their money instead. The average cowtown had more brothels than churches, and the churches doubled as brothels on slow Sundays. In Fort Griffin, the preacher collected tithes in the morning and percentages in the evening. He called it saving souls wholesale. The girls called him Reverend 10%. The star attraction was the crib girl, tiny one-room shacks lined up like piano keys. Rent, $1 a trick. A busy night earned a girl $20 and a reputation that traveled faster than the Pony Express. One famous crib row in Helena had a bell system. Ring once for straight, twice for fancy, 3 times if you wanted the mule involved. Variety, darling. Then there were the hurdy-gurdy girls, German imports who danced with minors for $1 a spin. Clothes stayed on, wallets did not. By closing time, the average cowboy was broke, dizzy, and convinced he'd found the love of his life. She'd already moved on to the next drunk with better boots. Madam Millie ran the finest house in Cripple Creek. Velvet parlor, crystal chandeliers, and a grand piano played by a one-armed professor who lost the other arm in a duel over a soiled dove named French Kate. Millie's rules were simple: pay up front, tip the girls, and never fall in love. Break rule 3 and you woke up in the alley minus your horse. Efficiency. The cowboys brought their own flavor. After weeks on the trail, they paid extra for a proper bath and a girl who didn't mind the smell of cow and campfire. One bathhouse madam advertised, deluxe scrub with real soap and a happy ending. Business boomed so hard she added a second tub in a waiting list. Next, we'll mosey into the Chinese districts and the opium dens, where white men paid gold to forget the color line existed. Keep your holster loose and your morals looser, darlings.
Darlings, we left Reverend 10% counting his cut while the piano played ragtime on a dead man's keys. Now slip with me through the Red Lantern Alley into the Chinese Quarter. Because of the white saloons were wild, the celestial dens were pure fever dream. After the railroads finished chewing up Chinese labor, the companies dumped 10,000 men in San Francisco and told them good luck. Most drifted to the mining towns where gold still glittered, and white girls cost extra for exotic curiosity. So the Tongs imported their own. Boat after boat docked with sing-song girls locked below decks like cargo. One customs officer in Virginia City logged a crate labeled T that opened to reveal 12 tiny women in silk trousers. He kept one and retired rich. The other 11 opened the Crimson Fan. A white man paid $3 for an hour with a Chinese girl and $20 if he wanted the opium pipe first. The pipe made everything softer, slower, and suddenly the color of her skin didn't matter to anyone except the preacher outside collecting signatures for the Exclusion Act. Inside, the pipe bubbled, and so did everything else. The most famous was a toy, original China doll of the goldfields. She arrived in '49, charged an ounce of gold just to look at her feet, then another ounce if you wanted the rest. By 1854, she owned half of Sacramento's Chinatown and employed 50 girls who worked lying down so the miners never saw their bound feet. Practical genius. When the vigilantes tried to run her out, she paid them in dust and girls. They left singing. Then came the cribs on a whole new level. Tiny compartments, barely wider than a coffin, stacked 3 high. Customers climbed a ladder, chose a number, and waited while the girls slid the wooden shutter. $1 American, 2 bits if you finished quick. The girls worked 20 hours a day and still sent money home to Guangdong. The miners called it the honey wall. The girls called it Tuesday. The Tong hatchet men kept order. Cross a girl or short her pay, and you woke up missing more than your wallet. One gambler tried to leave without paying. They found him in the morning nailed to his own whorehouse door by his own cue. The sign read, "Slow pay, no play." White madams hated the competition. Big Minnie of Bodie put up a sign, "Clean white girls, no opium, no chinks." Business fell off. She lasted 6 months, then sold the house to a Tong for half price and moved to Frisco to open a laundry. Irony has spurs, darlings.
Darlings, we last saw our toy counting gold dust while a gambler swung gently from his own braid. Now ride out with me past the last lantern into the wide open range where the cattle outnumber the people and the people outnumber the morals. Out here, the only roof is sky and the only witness is the moon. A cattle drive meant 3 months of beef, beans, and boys who hadn't touched silk since San Antonio. When they finally hit a rail town, they hit it hard. The trail boss paid the crew in Abilene, and by sunrise, half were broke and the other half were married by accident. One drover woke up wearing a ring made from a spur rowel and a wife who could outcuss him in 3 languages. He kept both. The real queens were the ranch women. Cattle Kate Watson ran 10,000 head in Wyoming and a private herd of cowboys who lined up at her door every branding season. She paid in cash and kisses, took no nonsense, and branded her initials on anything that moved. When the big ranches hanged her for rustling, the jury was all men who'd queued at that door. Verdict, not guilty. Revenge served medium rare. Then there was Calamity Jane. She scouted for Custer, drank with Hickok, and loved women louder than most men dared whisper. In Deadwood, she'd strip to the waist, arm wrestle any Comanche, and kiss the winner full on the mouth. Half the town claimed to have betted her. The other half wished they had. She died sober, broke, and still magnificent. The line camps were lonely. 2 cowboys, a line shack, and 6 months of snow meant rules got flexible. The term pardoner took on new meaning after the 3rd blizzard. One old puncher told the preacher, "We was just keeping each other warm, Reverend. Nothing the good book don't allow between David and Jonathan." The preacher took the hint and a drink. Stagecoach drivers had their own sport. They'd race from Cheyenne to Deadwood, stopping only to change horses and change women. One driver, Big Nose Kate, elder stateswoman of the profession, kept a room above every stable on the route. She said it saved wear and tear on the mattress. Practicality, darling. The ultimate legend was Polka Alice. Cigar in mouth, derringer and garter, she ran the finest faro game between the Missouri and the Pacific. She wore black silk to funerals and won most of them at the table first. When a drunk miner pulled a knife, she shot him neat through the hand, pinned the ace of spades to the wall, and said, "House always wins, sugar." She died at 84 with $50,000 sewn in her petticoats and 7 husbands buried out back. Goals. Next, we'll step into the tent revivals and traveling medicine shows, because nothing sells salvation or snake oil faster than a preacher with wandering hands and a choir of repentant soiled doves. Keep your Bibles handy and you're back to the wall, darlings.